On Thunderbird Garage, we're going to replace the Sunvisors on Walt's 57 Thunderbird. But first, a backstory.
Thunderbird Garage, let the good times thrive. Ooh.
So sometimes you take things for granted in modern cars like sunvisors that just come with a car, right? Well, not so much back in the 50s. And things like padded sunvisors were also positioned by the marketing department and the marketing teams a little bit differently. On Walt's car, we're going to show you how I replaced the original sunvisors, which are these, that over time, the foam you can see kind of swelled and it began to break down and sort of curved. Unfortunately, just didn't survive the test of time that well. So we replaced these. They're available online. Some things to note: this padding was a part of the Lifeguard safety packages that Ford promoted in 1957. And when they introduced them, people actually didn't like the whole concept of safety because it sort of introduced the question, was my car unsafe previously? But eventually we've sort of aligned with the whole concept of safe cars or safer cars. But this padding and these actual sun visors were optional in 1957, at least early on. They were a $9 option as a part of the safety package. So I think from the padding, if you hit your head on them, they would protect you a little bit. I don't know how much. And also the fact that they prevented you from sun blindness probably also was a part of that safety initiative. And some things to note: this curve in the arm is longer on a 57, 56 is a little shorter. So something to note when you're looking at the differences between a 56 and 57. The other things that were a part of the safety package were the actual padded dash. So the idea was that many dashboards early in the 50s were metal in cars, and if you hit your head on one, that would hurt, and this was going to soften the blow. Don't know how much. And the other thing that was actually advertised was a steering wheel that was recessed. They did that in 56 and 57. The 55 sort of had a big kind of center piece here that was almost flat steering wheel. So if you hit yourself on that, the idea was that that would cause a greater impact to the passenger, whereas these dished steering wheel were much more healthy for your body if you were to impact with the steering wheel. Certainly way before any airbags were ever thought of. And the other thing that was a part of the safety package were seat belts. Although they weren't standard, they were dimpled. There were little dimples in the floor in 57 as to where the seat belts could go. A lot of people did not want them because, heck, that means your car's unsafe, right? And then there was another sticker on the edge of the door, so when the door was open, it reflected from a passing car's headlights, so you wouldn't get hit. So all of those were part of that Lifeguard safety marketing push that Ford introduced in 57 that was introduced to mixed results in the United States. But let us show you on this car how I replaced the sun visors. Pretty easy, and we'll make Walt's car a little more beautiful here. So it's time to replace the sun visors on our 1957 Thunderbird. How would I know? Well, they kind of get squishy and they're bubbly and in different places. This one I'm almost beginning to remove here just to show you how to do it, but they typically come with a metal bracket on one side that clips in the center post of the or the center part of the windshield, and the other one requires a metal post be put through the actual visor itself, and it actually has a tube inside that it fits into. But anyway, so you know this is an old one. It was the original with the car, and as I squirt here, dust comes out of it, and all of the stuffing inside is beginning to break down, the foam. What they should look like is this, nice and trim, very firm all together, and as opposed to this. So we're going to put that one down, and we're going to put a new one in. But first, we have to take off the originals. And the way you do that is you unclip it from the center, and then you pull toward you with a twisting motion, and they sit via friction onto this piece here. So you'll actually have to puncture a hole in your new sun visors that you get. So you can see right here, we'd need to create a hole to match up with that. And then there's actually an empty rod or an empty tube inside there that will slip on here. So what you do is you sort of feel your way and find the little tube inside and then make a little razor blade cut. And then I'm going to use a little lubricant and slide that right on there. And then it just clips right into the center. So I'll show you that in a second, but that's how you put new visors on. They're fairly inexpensive and they certainly look a lot nicer. These don't work very well and are beginning to break down after years in the sun. So anyway, that's a matching set to this interior, the XK interior, and it will slide on, and I'll show you that in 2 seconds. When you're cutting the end of the sun visor to fit the rod through, you want to cut a very small hole. You do not want to make a big hole, because ultimately you want this to sort of bend in, the fabric or the vinyl to bend in when you're pushing the rod. So it gives a nice clean wrap around the rod, so you're not seeing kind of broken pieces of vinyl. So just make a very small hole, and then when the rod goes in with enough lubricant, it'll sort of bring the vinyl inward, and we'll make a nice clean presentation. So just a tip, small hole here, not a big one. So I've made a little slit in the end of this sun visor, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a little silicone lubricant here. Put that down, and I'm going to slide it on here. So I gently press on here. Don't want to distort this. And I'm going to slowly start working my way down, getting the visor a little closer to the windshield of the car. Once again, it's getting a little more difficult as I go. May need a little more lubricant, but I can also pull it back and forward. And I think you can see kind of the end result here of what we're going to do. So ultimately, it's going to go like that and be our new sun visor. Still need to adjust it a little bit, but that's how they go on. And they certainly dress up and make the car a little more presentable for folks, whether you're showing it or just driving it. So now we have some nice, firm, new sun visors on the car. And as you can see, when you get the sun visors on the car, if perchance this is bunched up at this end, if there's vinyl or there's some distortion here, just pull in and out. If you go in too far, just pull back on it. You may need a little force, but be gentle with it, and it will sort of straighten out and flatten out the vinyl there. You don't want any bubbling or bunching of the vinyl when you get it on. And then that's what it should look like when you're done. Well, today we've replaced the sun visors in Walt's car so it stays in place, they don't sag anymore, and heck, I have that extra 1/4 of an inch of padding, so if I whack my head in a sudden stop, I am protected. Not so much. Anyway, the marketing department was thinking about the future in 1957, even though some of the safety devices weren't quite as advanced as maybe airbags would be today. But the sun visors look great, they're easy to do, and you don't need special tools. And thank you for tuning in to Thunderbird Garage.